This is the fastest 12% loss in history.
Some airlines and cruise lines were down over 50%.
It's not necessarily the healthiest market tone.
Now, it's been a crazy week, of course, on Wall Street.
Holy crap. The stock market is going insane. So I'm sure a lot of you are aware, last week was the worst week for the market since the 2008 financial crisis. S&P 500 had the fastest 10% drop in history. And then fast forward to this week, Monday, the Dow has its best day ever in all of its history. And then Tuesday, the Fed cuts rates and the markets tank. And then now today, Wednesday the 4th, the Dow has its second best day ever. So things are absolutely nuts. The lowest lows, the highest highs, things are going wild. So I figured what better time than now to make a video over market volatility and what you can do to set yourself up to minimize losses during the bad times and also how to make some money during these times. So I've outlined 4 things that you need to survive the market volatility. The first one is having the right mindset. You can't be looking at these daily drops as losses. If you haven't sold, you haven't lost anything. So if you flip your mindset to a long-term investor, you're holding 10, 15, 20 years, these daily little drops don't matter because you're not selling anyway. So Warren Buffett, he doesn't even consider buying a company unless it's going to be a good company for 10, 15, 20, 30 years down the road. So there's a hiccup last week. That has no impact because you're going to be owning it for 20 more years. Even if it's a big hiccup and the market's staying for a year, 2 years, 3 years, it doesn't matter. You're going to be holding for 20 years. So the average recession lasts 11 months, less than a year. So if you're holding a stock for 10 plus years, the recession doesn't even impact you. Actually, it benefits you. It gives you an opportunity to buy stocks at a discount. Stock drops 20%, you just got it on sale, 20% discount. And there's one thing to know when you're buying stocks during the recession, every single recession turns into a bull market. Every single time. But if you're hanging on the sidelines trying to time the market, you might miss the bull run. Like the biggest day in Dow history on Monday, or the second biggest day today. If you're not in the market holding your money long term, there's a good chance that you didn't time it perfectly. Unless you're just the luckiest person in the world, there's a good chance that if you're trying to time the market, jump in and out, you may have missed that jump. Another note to make you less fearful of these corrections and bear markets, a correction on average since 1990 has happened every single year. And a correction is when the market drops at least 10%. So when I hear that, that just means you get a buying opportunity at a 10% discount every single year since 1990. And every 3 to 5 years on average is a bear market, which is a drop of at least 20%. So every 3 to 5 years you get to buy it at a 20% discount. So if you change your mindset and you start thinking about this long term, you start to look at these drops as actually a good opportunity to buy rather than something that's hurting your portfolio. Because if you don't sell, you don't lose any money. And in this book is one of the best quotes that I've ever read. I'm not sure if it's really even a quote, more of just like an excerpt out of this book, but I don't know why it's not like a famous quote. Maybe it is and I don't know it, but I haven't really seen it anywhere other than this book. And it says, there are only 2 potential outcomes, the end of America as we know it or recovery. Every time investors have bet on the former, they have lost. So basically it's saying, if we're in a bear market or a recession, no matter how bad it gets, there's only 2 options. Either America as we know it is completely gone, we fall off the face of the earth, there's an apocalypse, something crazy happens, and at that point, your money invested in the stock market is worth nothing anyway. Or the market recovers, and every time people bet on America falling off the face of the earth, they've lost. The market has always recovered, every single time. So when the market goes down, don't be afraid, just put your money in, just ride it out, and you're gonna be fine. Every single time in the history of the world, this has happened. Every single time you ride it out, you're fine. So if you're looking for a book to read, highly recommend this book. This is like one of the most life-changing books for me. This and Money Mastered the Game by Tony Robbins, both amazing books. This is basically a condensed version, so I'd recommend this one. But honestly, this is seriously one of the greatest books ever. Like, if I didn't read this book, I don't know where I'd be. I learned so much from this. This really is what got me into investing and is what got me excited about it. I'm sure there would have been another book that did it if it wasn't this one, like Rich Dad, Poor Dad or something like that. But this was it for me. Honestly, it's so good. I think one day I'm going to have to do like a full video just dedicated to everything that I learned from this book because there's so many really good points. But that's a video for another day. Now on to step number 2. So the second step to surviving a bear market, dollar cost average. So the benefit of dollar cost averaging is basically just to reduce your risk. All right, so here's an example of this. So let's say you want dollar cost average. You buy $1,000 worth this first month at $50 per share. So month 2 rolls around, you're ready to invest it again. You got your $1,000, but this time ABC stock is at $45 a share. Month 3 rolls around, you got your $1,000 to invest. And this time it's up to $52 a share. And month 4 rolls around, you got your $1,000 to invest, and it's down to $40 a share. So this means you buy $4,000 worth at all these different prices. This means that your cost basis is $46.75. So this is the average of what you bought it at. So your cost basis is $46.75. The stock is now worth $40. That means you are down 14.44%. Now let's say you took that $4,000 and just invested the whole lump sum on the first day and you got it at $50 a share. You would be down 20% because now the stock is at 40. So your cost basis is 50 rather than at 46.75. So doing it this way basically just limits your risk, but it can also limit your upside. Let's say ABC stock that you bought at $50 a share, a month later goes up to $55 and then $60 and then $70 and then $100. So the person that bought the lump sum, at this point, they've doubled their money. They have 100% return on investment. But if you dollar cost average, that limits your upside. So let's say you bought $1,000 worth at 50, that's 20 shares, then $1,000 worth at 55, you get 18 shares, $1,000 worth at 60, 16 shares, and $1,000 worth at $70, that's 14 shares. So total, you have 68 shares. So if you calculate your cost basis, that puts your average share at $58 versus if you bought in lump sum, your average share would be $50. So $50 to 100, that's 100% return on investment. $58 to 100, that is a 72% return on investment. So it can limit your risk, but it can also limit your upside. So if you're wondering how to calculate the cost basis, just take the total amount of money invested, so $4,000, and you divide that by the total number of shares you own, so 68. So 4,000 divided by 68, that's where you get the $58. So that's the second way that I'd recommend surviving a down market. Dollar cost averaging, like I showed, it can limit your upside, but it can also really limit your downside. And as it can limit your downside and limit your upside, it can also increase your upside. So let's say you have that $4,000. Person that buys in lump sum, say they bought at 50, then it goes down to 40, and then 30, and then 20. This limits your downside as you're buying, but then as it goes up, say it goes back up to 50, person that bought at 50, they're just back to breaking even. But the person that bought down at 30 and 40, their money's now positive. So it can also increase your upside. So there's lots of benefits of doing it, but I think the most important for this case is that it can really decrease your downside, and in the process of that, you can make a lot of money when the stocks rebound. And the third thing that you should do is rebalance your portfolio. Now this is basically just something you do once a year, once every couple of years, once every quarter. It honestly is just up to you. But here's the gist of it. So let's say you want your portfolio to be 50% of ABC stock and 50% of XYZ stock. So let's say you have $100 in ABC stock and $100 in XYZ stock. So here's your portfolio, 50% here, 50% there, and you decide long term you want to stay 50% allocated in each of these. But ABC stock surges up to $150 a share. XYZ stock drops to $90. Your total portfolio went from being worth $200 to now $240, but obviously there's a big disproportion between these two. ABC is up a ton, while XYZ is down a little. So to rebalance, you want these to get back to 50% each. So ABC stock is now worth over 60% of your portfolio, and you decided that you wanted each to be worth 50. So to rebalance, you're gonna sell some of ABC and buy some of XYZ. In doing this, it forces you to sell what's high and buy what's low. So your portfolio is worth $240. If you want it to be 50% of each, obviously you're gonna want each to be $120. So you're gonna sell $30 of this, and you're gonna buy $30 of XYZ. You now own $120 of each. You've now rebalanced your portfolio and own $120 of each. And in doing this, like I said, you just sold ABC, which is obviously up a ton, and you bought XYZ, which is down. Essentially, buying low and selling high, which is the name of the game. And rebalancing makes it super easy and forces you to do that without even thinking about it. And then the fourth tip to surviving down markets is diversifying. You have to be diversified. You never want to put all your eggs into one basket. So you can diversify your asset classes. Say you buy real estate, individual stocks, ETFs, mutual funds, bonds. There's all sorts of asset classes that you can invest in. And diversifying is something that's going to help you out during the market crash. So in 2008, if all your money was in real estate, you would have lost a lot more than if you were diversified across all asset classes. Now, most asset classes are still going to drop during the recession, but not as much as real estate during 2008. Or right now, say all your money is in airlines, you're probably getting hit pretty hard right now. But if you're diversified, it's not as bad. You also want to diversify within the asset classes. So you buy real estate, your individual stocks, your mutual funds, your ETFs. You don't want to put all your money all into one piece of real estate, all into one ETF, all into one individual stock. Yeah, you're diversified in the asset class, but you want to diversify within all of that. So buy multiple different REITs, multiple different pieces of real estate, multiple ETFs, multiple individual stocks, and really diversify within each asset class as well. Then you also want to diversify across all markets. So investing across different markets spreads out your risk because we don't just live in our own little bubble here. Now obviously things that happen in other countries affect us. We live in a global economy. So investing your money in more than just one market is another way to diversify your money. So if you diversify, rebalance your portfolio, dollar cost average, and most importantly, have a long-term mindset and just consistently invest over the long term and not freak out every time the market drops, and realize that when it drops, you don't lose money unless you sell. So just hold long-term, be a long-term buyer, create the right mindset, and you're going to be successful. You're going to be able to make money through the downturn, and you're going to be just fine. So if you learned something, if you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe, drop a comment if there's anything that I missed, and I'll see y'all next time.